wait on water to heat up so everybody can shower, et cetera, is putting your firefighters at risk, to be quite honest with you. And on a personal level, I don't have a dog in this fight, ladies and gentlemen. I understand that the competing needs of the city are extensive. But your fire department is the only department that lives on site 24/7. I understand the cops work 24 hours a day, but they spend most of their time in a patrol car. We're living and operating in the building 24/7. And there's no reason for us to pursue this grant if we're not willing to fund the additional portion to finish the project. And I support you either way, but I just want to make sure that you are able to make an informed decision on what we're really asking for.
And what would the timing be on knowing if we got the grant?
Gordon, you want to come up here and talk on that?
I was going to say, Mr. Smith probably speak to that better than I can, but I think it's later this year.
November 1st, I believe.
November 1st is when we have to have the application in. Chief has already submitted the first draft to me. He and I both are working on it together. About to get it in. Once again, it's come from Tarrant County, from our CDBG offices. It is a new bundle of money from COVID that has to be spent COVID. And what Marvin and I both said on the webinar with it, and the coordinator down there that we deal with on an annual basis, she explained it, and with the money that's coming down, it's coming quicker than our normal CDBG, so the projects have to be ready, pretty much, and going over what Marvin and I first, let me back up a little bit, we researched it in the beginning, before the webinar, to put all new air conditioners on the city buildings, but it would not qualify for city administration buildings. So during the webinars, when I had the idea of the fire station renovation, at least see if that would qualify due to the fact of the expansion of going from volunteer to full-time, because there was two key words in the webinar, was expansion and COVID related. In both of those situations has happened in the fire department, and so I sent her a summary of what was going on, and she looked at some documents and said they would definitely accept it and felt it would qualify. But her concern is it does have a cap, and that cap is $250,000. She said all the rest of the matching funds would have to come from the city, and then through the webinars when we learned that you couldn't use two different grants to fund one project if it was a federal. That's where Marvin was explaining couldn't use the COVID money that we received and then take this other money that is coming down from COVID, federal, and use it together. But that's when we have the bond money there. That's why we presented it to the city manager.
Well, that's where I'm a little confused, whether we're talking about bond money or whether now all of a sudden the word grant came up, matching grant. So we talking about two different pots of money?
Yes.
Matching grant would be, the matching grant that I'm saying is from the CDBG. That's $250,000. To match that grant, we have to have that money from either one pot of money or the other. One doesn't qualify, which is the rescue funds that we've already received, and the second would be the bond, which does qualify.
So then what we're talking about is taking, if we could apply for the grant would be $250,000 out of the $560,000?
Yes, sir.
And I'm having a hard time swallowing this all-in business, to be honest with you, Chief.
And a couple of
we just pulled $1 million out of a hat that everybody pushed for that, and I'm all for, they've got to have facilities I realize they've got to have facilities to shower off after a fire, not for reasons of personal hygiene, but chemicals and all that, they're involved in some of these fires. I know that is very important, but just for the record, $560,000 is a big project to me. So we're talking about two different So y'all are proposing taking the balance of that out of the bond money?
Yeah, $315,000.
And then there's a lot of things that are needing to be done to the police department as well. Are we addressing any of that?
No, we've been talking to the chief about it. Of course, his main goal is to get more for his officers. He can come up here and talk about what we talked about, but his goal wasn't so much that as it was his personnel.
Before you bring him up, this grant, CDBG grant, we have to match it. We can't just use just the $250.
I'll have to get that clarified.
Okay.
That's correct. You have to have the matching funds for the project as it's presented to the county, or it eliminates you from eligibility for the grant. I read that.
So that explains it's all in or nothing. That explains that. Okay.
I would hope after 7 years, ladies and gentlemen, that you would not think that I would stand before you tonight and try to pull the wool over your eyes and tell you a bill of goods. I'm much more professional than that, and I hope you know that.
It's not.
I absolutely know that. Let me say that since I'm the one being vocal here, that I have the utmost respect for everything you're doing for our city. We're just getting pulled from every direction, and we've got to figure out how to...
And that's one of the reasons why quickly, when Marvin and I went after it, and we saw we were going to get kicked out for the projects that we thought were needed, because the air conditioner systems are old, and I'm getting getting an estimate on those, and trying to put a plan together. But then that's when I had the thought and went after, can we use it for this? And they said yes.
And I always appreciate the fact that you have done a good job of looking for grants. I'm sorry.
This was the fear of going to a full-time fire department. I always said, what are we gonna get added on down the road? And everybody said, just the price of the employees, and now we're talking over $500,000 to add showers and more living area.
A year later.
And especially in the times we're in right now.
Well, and the biggest reason we did the fire department in-house is it was gonna cost us $1.5 million to go out. And that's just too much money there.
I understand that.
That's the best thing we've done for our city in a long time. We all know that, but we gotta figure out where
we can spend it.
And the streets are now the thing that our public is screaming about, and that's getting worse, not better, so.
And we're gonna have to understand.
That amount, it's not $500,000. It would be the $315,000.
Yeah, it's $315,000.
New incremental monies that would be coming to us.
I'm sorry, can you say that again, Steve?
We can't hardly hear you.
It would be not over $500,000, it'd be $315,000.
Yeah.
Because the money from the feds is new money that we don't currently have. So out of our pocket, one way of looking at it is we're getting $560,000 worth of value for $315,000 out of our money.
Yes. I agree and understand.
So the other thing, just moving off that for a moment, is the water treatment plant. And I know we received a presentation from the consultants and the engineers, but I don't know that the council, we talked about it a little bit, but it seems like to me we should talk about it a little bit more before we commit huge amounts, because it is a real hard decision that needs to be made as far as, their recommendation was to continue with their own plant, primarily to have two sources of water, not due to the economics of the situation. So I just think it's worthy of a council discussion specifically on that topic,
Yes.
before we move forward.
And that's part of my deal with all this budget process, is that I feel like that we were told that we invested a lot of money in the water plant, and that was gonna be done for a decade or so, and now all of a sudden, man, I was shocked to hear that we have to do some repairs almost immediately, and some big money here in the next, I haven't even heard what our real timeline is to do something to that plant. I was also told that every road, and I've said this a lot publicly, but You know, I was told